My name is Marek Kuridak and I'm continuing my series on simplifying men's relationships, and today I'd like to focus on simplifying men's relationships with complimenting. So I don't know about you, but for me complimenting was hard because I came from a very critical household, and as awkward or as weird as it may sound, or counterintuitive it may sound, to me criticizing people was a compliment. That's because I was criticized, and it helped me to do more because I was afraid and I didn't want to be more afraid. So that forced me to perform. And so to me, that created that brain cycle that, hey, if criticism worked for me, if I criticize others, then I'll be able to do the same for them. And actually, I'll be doing them a favor by criticizing them. So when I went to the military, especially when I went to the basic training, and then later on when I got in a position to criticize others, I thought, you're doing this bad, you're doing that bad, I'm an awesome leader. But yet, as I reflect on my military career as an example, when I think that the leaders who touched me the most, they were not the leaders who criticized me the most, but the ones that believed in me. I don't have enough time to go into the details, but I can name at least a couple of people who believed in me in spite of the fact that I wasn't really that good as an officer, I thought. But these guys saw the potential, and even though I was not really able so much to act in it back then, looking back, it really makes me perform that much more because I realize, hey, this is what I've done wrong. I every day I have a choice to act in a different way, in a better way, and because I've done it wrong in the past, I know I can do a lot better, and that's what inspires me to be that much better of a leader now than I was back then, even though it took me a while to incorporate these lessons. So why other than the family influence, why do we tend to criticize more than compliment? As it turns out, it's actually very biological. I did some research into it, and we as humans have this thing called negativity focus, which means that our brains were wired to prioritize the bad news. If you think about it, it makes sense. For example, when you're crossing the street, you don't want to be thinking how beautiful the weather is. You want to make sure that if there's a car swinging by, your brain gets your attention, and you can get yourself out of the harm's way. So that's why our brains are wired to spot the negative, and when negative always wins out over the positive, because our brain thinks, hey, I'm in danger, I need to get out of the danger and keep myself safe, which is fantastic when you're in immediate danger, but not so fantastic when you make up the danger yourself, when you make up the story that, hey, somebody's threatening you, and so I'm going to up the ante and do a preemptive strike by criticizing them or hurting them in some shape or form, so that way they cannot hurt me back. How do we break this cycle? Well, that's kind of what's working against us. How can we tilt the balance the other way? Well, we can do that by what is called a positivity focus. As it turns out, this is just from the marriage, but it's scientific. I actually looked it up. In healthy marriages or happy marriages, compliment to criticism ratio, what do you think? You think it's 1-to-1? No, it's actually 5-to-1. It's 5 compliments to 1 criticism. It's scientific. There was a research study done. And so that made me think, it's like, hey, I'm in a very good marriage, but man, I am not doing 5-to-1 compliments. I mean, if I'm honest with myself, I do more compliments than criticism, but it's not 5-to-1. And so my friends, what I started doing, and I highly encourage you to do it as well, and if you do it, let me know how it goes. I'm using this feature in a phone called Voice Memo, and I try to just about every day, not every day, but at least every other day, send a voice compliment to my wife over a text message. And it's been wonderful. And you might say, well, I could do that in person. Well, yes, of course you can, but the nice thing about doing it over the phone, it helps you to pause and think about it. For example, the other day I was in a church and my wife did a great job singing, and so if I was to compliment her then, it would kind of be disruptive. So that's why I was able to do it over the phone later on. Or I remember one time I was talking to a colleague of mine. He was complaining how the girls he dated, they did less and less good of a job dressing up for dates. And I thought to myself, wow, I know my wife for over 2 years now, and we're married for over a year now, and that just has not been the case. And as soon as I hung up with the guy, I sent that compliment through a voice message, on the voice memo, through a text message. And the beautiful thing about it is that the more I do it, the more I enjoy doing it, and it creates that positivity focus where now I'm starting to spot the positive. and that's what helps me to overcome this biology that focuses on negative. Obviously, you don't want to turn it off altogether. Obviously, you want to make sure that, hey, if there's some true danger, you want to make sure it gets your attention. But having that positivity focus, having those compliments, this kind of compliments as a way of a workout, if you will, helps me to make sure that I swing that balance more towards the positive, because if not, our brains by their nature will focus on the negative to keep us safe. So my friends, I hope this was helpful. If it is, please share, subscribe. Until next time, God bless, and talk to you soon.